What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video I'm going to be going over how to achieve a flow state plus 7 signs you have achieved a flow state. Now for those of you that don't know what a flow state is, what does it mean to be in a flow state? What does it mean to be in a flow state of mind? Well, basically a flow state is when you are totally immersed in whatever you are doing at a particular time during the day, right? Elite athletes utilize the flow. Executives, top executives at different businesses and institutions utilize the flow, right? Students at major universities such as Harvard and Yale and Spelman and Morehouse, they utilize this flow state as well, right? When you're in a flow state, you are completely immersed into the activity that you are in, right? You have no sense of time. Time dissolves. Your surroundings, your awareness starts to drizzle, your awareness starts to evaporate. You're just totally in the midst of, whatever you are doing, right? So in this video, I'm going to be going over how to develop that flow state of mind, how to be immersed, and how to have that tunnel vision and that razor sharp focus that you want and that you need to succeed in life, right? Just like with anything in life. With anything in life that we're trying to accomplish, something new that we're trying to do, something new that we're trying to learn, everything takes time and everything takes practice, right? So, the motivation behind this video is from this book, The Art of Finding Flow, How to Get in the Zone, Maintain razor sharp focus, and improve your productivity and performance at will, right? By Damon Zaharias. Right, this is the motivation that's behind this video, and I'm going to utilize this book right throughout this whole video, as well as Peter Hollins's book, The Science of Self-Learning, How to Teach Yourself Anything, Learn More in Less Time, and Direct Your Own Education. Right, so I'm going to be utilizing these two books throughout this entire video. All right, so let's not waste any time. Let's go and get started. So the first step into achieving a flow state is to develop and follow a pre-flow routine, right? So anytime we're trying to achieve some type of flow state, we have to develop and follow a pre-flow routine, right? This may look different for everybody, right? Because everybody's different and everybody's unique in their own way. So let's take, for example, for me, in order for me to start my day whenever I'm going to work or whenever I'm trying to complete certain tasks within the household, right? I like to develop it's like a ritual, basically. We're developing our own rituals. We're developing our own routines and, things to prepare us for the day ahead, right? So whenever I get up in the morning, I like to, not check my phone. Right, we need to eliminate all distractions. When we're trying to develop a pre-flow routine, we need to eliminate all distractions within our life. So most of us, we tend to get up in the morning, we check our phone. I'm guilty of this sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. So we need to, when we get up in the morning, try not to get on your phone. Try not to check on your phone, right? So when I get up in the morning, I tend to, meditate. Right, I try to meditate for at least around 20 minutes, right? 20 to 30 minutes, depending on what time I get up. So I like to, meditate. When you meditate, there are many benefits to meditation. It, calms the mind. You're able to concentrate more on your breathing, concentrate more on your breathing patterns, right? And you get into this, you start to, implement this practice, and eventually you start to, gain clarity, gain confidence, gain a sense of peace, gain a sense of mind to tackle the entire day ahead, right? And then after meditation, I'd maybe do like a 5 to 7 minute yoga stretch or a 5 to 7 minute yoga routine, right? To get the blood flowing, to get the blood pumping, as well as having a calm peace of mind, developing a more calmer sense of being, right? So after that, I may drink, some water in the morning. Right, it's good to drink water in the morning to lubricate the digestive system, to lubricate the stomach, right? So these different things, you can develop your own pre-flow routine, right? And just like when you're at work, right? We tend to, when we're doing certain things or we're doing certain tasks at work, we may tackle on something and we're not prepared for it, right? We might have a big workload ahead of us. We might have to file certain papers or do some data entry or do some manual physical labor if you work in a factory, in a warehouse or something. Even if you're working in a factory or warehouse, it's always good for us to, plan ourselves, right? We need to plan ourselves into, organize ourselves, perform certain tasks to where you are able to, focus on this certain aspect of your work, and then come to this and then come to that. We need to develop some sort of, organization within ourselves, pre-planning ahead for what's to come when it comes to our work. Right, some people may get away with this. They don't have to develop some sort of routine or a pre-flow routine or anything of this nature. But most of us, we need to, organize ourselves. If we're not organized, if we're, disorganized and we're just all over the place, when we're trying to multitask and do all these other different things, then our life and our work is going to be hectic. It's going to be chaotic. So it's always important for us to develop some pre-flow routine in any regard. When we're at home, when we, if you have a job at home, if you work from home, if you work, outside, within a company, out in society or whatever, we need to develop some sort of pre-flow routine in order for us to get ourselves motivated and get ourselves ready for the day ahead. So step 2 to achieving a flow state is to identify your peak energy times. So all of us, we don't have the same sort of allotted time when it comes to, achieving a flow state, right? We have different energy peaks at different times during the day, right? Some of us may be a morning person. I'm not a morning person, but some of you all may be a morning person. Your peak energy time might be somewhere, sometime in the morning, right? Or our peak energy time might be somewhere in the afternoon or the evening. Or if you work the night shift, if you work the graveyard shift, your peak energy time may be somewhere, around, nighttime. We have been accustomed to working during the night shift, and that's when our peak energy times are around that certain allotted time frame. So in the Art of Finding Flow book, there's an exercise that can be very, very beneficial to you in regards to discovering your peak energy time. So let's say you're at work, right? And, try to identify three different tasks that you are trying to do when it comes to your job, when it comes to your work. So let's say, the first task, you may go out in the field to do some work, right? Let's say, for instance, you work in the school system, and, your first task or your first job is to go out to a certain school and to train a teacher or to train a principal or whatever, right? So write down or put in your phone, whichever works for you, put the time down to where you begin your work, where you begin to start your work. And then, try to remember this as you are trying to do your work. And then as you notice your mind drifting off, or as you notice your energy levels depleting, remember that time that where your energy levels dip down or where your mind starts to drift off, and put that time down in your phone, right? This could be between 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever the case may be, right? And then try to do it for a second task within your job. You may go back to your main headquarters in your main building, and you might have to do some data entry. So, do same thing for the first task. Put down the time that you start your job, or you start your task, or start your second task. And then whenever your mind starts to drift off, or when your energy starts to deplete, put the time down to where that occurs, where that situation occurs. And then do the same thing for the third task and the fourth task, and so on and so forth. Right? Do it as many times as you like. And that way you can gauge and kind of understand where your peak energy time is and what the range is within your peak energy level, right? So it's always important for us when we're trying to achieve a flow state to identify our peak energy times and our peak energy levels, right? Because there's certain times in the day where we just feel drained and, we don't have as much mental capacity or physical capacity to perform a certain task. So that's why it's always important for us to do certain exercises like that to identify what our peak energy time is, right? And once we understand and know and develop what our peak energy time is, then we can utilize those peak energy times and those peak energy levels to focus on the much bigger projects that we have to fulfill, or the much bigger assignments, or the much bigger tasks that we have to do, right? And then we can, any other millennial task that we have to do, we could put that in the back burner. We could save that for later, right? So this is good, time management and energy management skills, developing certain exercise like this. And when we're doing these bigger tasks and these bigger projects, whether it be for our job or, some home projects that we're trying to do, if we're trying to create a business or develop a certain business, we need to be able to break down those big projects. So it's not good for us to tackle on a certain project or a big project, at face value. Then we start to become discouraged, and, we, develop a sense of, self-consciousness within ourselves, and we just think we're not able to complete the certain task. But it's always important for us to break down these big tasks into little sections. I say, for instance, if you are trying to build a website, you're trying to create your own website, instead of tackling on face value and trying to understand the whole process in one day at one time, maybe you can try focusing on, looking up the information that you want to put on your website, gather up all the information that you want to implement on your website. And then the next day, or another time in your day, in the same day, you can start to come up with the design of your website, right? Look up or try to, try to create and brainstorm certain designs that you want to do for your website, and then just go on from there. So the third step to achieve a flow state is to create a distraction-free environment. So when we're trying to achieve a flow state, it's best for us not to delve into drench ourselves in any type of distraction, right? There are many times where, many distractions might come up. It might be a family emergency. It might be, some type of emergency. We're not in control of certain things within our outside world. So certain distractions are going to come up, but it's best for us to try to avoid distractions as best way we can, right? This can be internal distractions, or this can be external distractions. So we have internal distractions where our thoughts, our minds start to wander. We start to feel anxious. We start to have anxiety. Like I said in the second point, when we try to, accomplish a certain task or try to fulfill a certain duty within ourselves, we tend to, become discouraged, or we start to become anxious. Or if we get, bored real easily, our mind starts to wander off, our mind starts to drift off, and we start to think about other tasks. We start to think about other things that rise up in our life, right? So that's why there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance between, trying to fulfill something, trying to do something that's challenging in a way, but at the same time, you're able to acquire the skills and acquire the assets needed to fulfill that certain task as you grow accustomed to learning about it and grow accustomed to actually performing it on a day-to-day basis. So there needs to be a balance between the two. If the challenge or the task becomes too difficult, then we're going to be discouraged. We're going to feel like we're not able to perform this certain task. We're not able to fulfill this certain project. We're not able to create that certain business, or we're not able to come up with that presentation, right? If it's too easy, right? If something is too easy, then we're going to then we're going to become bored of ourselves, and it's going to start, becoming mundane, right? It's not challenging to us. It's not fulfilling us in any way. So there needs to be a balance when it comes to those sort of things. So try to eliminate as many distractions as we can, right? If we're, in the office, we're trying to, come up with a presentation, right? If our boss assigns us a presentation, we have to create a PowerPoint presentation, and this project takes time and effort, then, save some time to where you are not on your phone. Try to shut off your phone for at least an hour. Or, if you work from home and you have, kids or you have pets, try to explain to your kids or to your spouse that you need to alleviate this certain time slot, or you need to have some time between, let's say 9 to 11 to work on certain things, right? Communication is key. Certain things like that. So it's always important for us to eliminate certain distractions in our life in order to achieve some type of flow state. And it's always best for us to take breaks as well. We need to take breaks when we're trying to do certain things. Save some time, maybe like a 15, 20, 30-minute break, right? It's always good to have breaks to have the mind rested and to have the mind recharged in order for us to tackle on these certain tasks that we need to do in our life. So number 4 is define a clear mission. So with anything that we're trying to do, whether it be, so for example, trying to achieve a flow state, we need to have some sort of motivation to why we want to achieve this flow state, right? What is your motivation in life, right? Is it, if you're on a sports team, if you are a student athlete and you want to, achieve a flow state to where you are so focused and so immersed into practice, into perfecting your craft, to developing a certain skill set when it comes to, let's say, basketball. You might want to practice, shooting 50 free throws, or shoot certain shots within the perimeter of the court. Practice on your 3-point range, practice on your layups. You develop a flow state to where you're just so immersed in, developing yourself overall as an athlete. You might be a student, right? You have to, study, a certain subject, whether it be anatomy or physics or some type of mathematics, right? And you have a big exam coming up, or if you have a certain project that you need to take some time to do and research and to complete, right? Achieving a flow state where you're just so focused on, doing the research, studying for the exam, to where no distractions come towards you, to where you're not immersed in certain distractions that are coming up in your life, right? Like I said, many distractions may come up, but it's important for us to eliminate these certain distractions that we can control in our lives, right? So what is your mission? What is your goal? It could be, something along those lines, the examples that I gave, or it could be even a bigger mission. Like me, for example, I believe my mission is very universal, right? My mission is to, teach people and to help people and to guide people, right? There's no such thing as a teacher, right? I just consider myself a mere catalyst to the truth. All a teacher is a mere catalyst to the truth. So my mission is universal. My mission is to help as many people as I possibly can, right? To lead them towards truth, right? To come up with their own conclusions and their own truths. I'm just here to spark the light in your mind. I'm just here to spark something in your mind to where you're able to do your own research and come up with your own conclusions and to come up with your own truths to help better yourself in the long run, right? So what is your mission? Figure out what your mission is. Why are you trying to achieve this flow state? Why are you trying to achieve this flow state of mind? Why do you want to focus on, something bigger than yourself? Right? Is it because of, it may be financial freedom, right? You might want to achieve some type of financial freedom to where you are able to focus on what you really want to do in life. Focus on what you really want. Focus on what you are really passionate about instead of doing the mundane tasks at a regular 9-to-5 job, right? So always, just figure out what your mission is and what you think your purpose is in life. So step number 5 to achieving a flow state is to establish your intrinsic motivation. Now, what is intrinsic motivation? So there's a difference between extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation is basically, let's say for instance, you work a job, right? A regular 9-to-5 job. Your extrinsic motivation for working that job is you get paid, right? You do the work necessary to complete a certain job. The end result, you get paid for it in money, right? That's an example of extrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation, now this is powerful. Intrinsic motivation is something that motivates you from the inside, something that motivates you on an intuitive level, on a spiritual level, on an internal level, right? Me, for example, this is intrinsic motivation for me. Making these YouTube videos, enlightening people, helping people to discover who they truly are, helping people develop financial literacy, helping people understand the spiritual aspects of money, helping people understand metaphysics, the metaphysical aspect of self, helping people understand how the universe works, how you are connected to the universe, things of this nature. This is all universal. This is intrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation is more powerful than extrinsic motivation. It leaves us with a sense of purpose. It leads us to a sense of happiness and fulfillment, something to live for in our lives other than the mundane tasks that we go through on a daily basis, right? So I want to read something in regards to extrinsic motivation, right? To elaborate on extrinsic motivation on a deeper level. So intrinsic motivation. So they said that extrinsic motivation is the compensation you get comes from an external source. Like I mentioned, when you work a job, the end result, you get money for that job, such as the company you work for or the school district you study in. Somebody else is generating your payments or rewards according to guidelines that they set up, not you. Okay? So the opposite of this concept is intrinsic motivation. A person is experiencing intrinsic motivation, does an activity for how it will enrich them on an intangible level. The rewards one gets in this framework are self-generated. Pride, sense of accomplishment, enjoyment, rising to a challenge. These kinds of rewards, quite simply, feel better and have a more personal meaning than a paycheck or grade. So like I said, intrinsic motivation is more powerful than extrinsic, right? Maybe like in the past, when self-learning wasn't really a thing, self-learning, self-education wasn't really a thing, and we had to go to school, we had to go to workshops, we had to go to training sessions, and we had to go to a certain job and learn a certain task in order to survive. That's the old paradigm. Now we shift into this new paradigm of self-learning, and when we learn something that we're very passionate about, right? Because school can turn us off from actually learning, right? I know that was for me. When we're in school, we learn about stuff that we're not interested in. It's like they already have the blueprint laid out for us within the school system, and then we might go after grade school, we might go to college for however many years, 4, 8 years, and then we just completely stop our education. Our education stops there because all the studying, all the heartaches, all the hours being put in for studying, for exams, we become drained by all this, and that kind of turns us off from extending our education after college or after grade school. But once we're able to figure out what we really want to do, when we figure out what we're really passionate about, then we start self-educating ourselves. We become self-motivated to educate ourselves on certain topics that we want to learn about. Say, for instance, if you want to learn about computer programming, you might, have certain books. You might buy certain books off of Amazon or eBay on, computer programming. Or if you want to become a scientist, you might get, certain science books, biology books, chemistry books, physics books, anatomy books. If you want to learn about health and nutrition, you get certain books on that. You used to start educating yourself. You have this plan and you have this thing planned out and you have all your resources to where you're able to educate yourself, right? And you're able to, you might create an online business, or you might develop something to where you can work for yourself. You don't have to work for nobody else. You can work for yourself. You're able to educate yourself on a certain subject that you're interested in and that you're passionate about, and you can make money off of it. So this is intrinsic value. This is way more powerful than extrinsic value, or motivation, as I should say. So motivation 3.0 is all about intrinsic motivation. It's spurred by Pink's belief that the secret to high performance isn't our biological drive or our reward and punishment drive, but our third drive, our deep-seated desire to direct our own lives, to extend and expand our abilities, and to make a contribution. Pink described 3 different factors that make up intrinsic motivation. So the first factor is autonomy. Autonomy is freedom. Freedom is a big driving impulse for everyone. Having autonomy means that you are completely in control of your own life, right? So that may be your motivation to achieve a flow state, because you want that autonomy. You want that freedom to do what you want to do. Like I said, financial freedom. This skill set, or this dream job, or this purpose, or this career that you are striving for will be able to give you that financial freedom and give you that autonomy to do whatever you want, to live your life to your own accords. You're behind the steering wheel. You're making the decisions and you're generating your own rewards. You're not answering to the demands of anybody else, and you're able to set your own agenda. Autonomy motivates us because we want to believe that only we truly affect our own lives. Now, this deals with reality creation. You see a lot of people, including myself, always talking about reality creation, emphasizing reality creation, right? This means that we are in control of our own lives and that we are co-creators of our own reality. We are co-creators of our own destiny. So we're able to, in this new paradigm, in this new age of Aquarius, we're able to understand this. We're able to understand that we are co-creators of our own reality. With the help of the Supreme Being, with the help of the Creator, with the help of the universe, with the gods, goddesses, ancestors, spirit guides, whatever you want to call them. With the help of these forces, we're able to create the reality that we wish to live. We live in the desired reality that we are creating every single day, right? Most of us, before the internet age, before all this information became mainstream, we were just living in this, society. We were morphed into society, and we're just living in this rat race of life, and we think we have no control over our lives. Now we're ushering in this new information of reality creation and all these other different subjects and topics to let everyone know that you are in control of your own reality. Nobody actually enjoys the prospect of somebody else manipulating the levers in their existence. It implies that we're being restricted by somebody else's expectations or wishes. We're bred to want independence because it increases our own reserves of self-worth and personal power, right? It motivates you for self-learning. You might use the factor of autonomy to envision how your life might improve after you gain your knowledge. For example, you might be motivated to teach yourself coding because you can picture yourself running your own web design, contract business in the future. You might learn a language because you want to spend time living in a foreign country. Or you just want to learn cooking because you're tired of making macaroni and cheese from a box using ingredients someone else chose. The point is that it's your choice alone, right? So when we're motivated to do something, when we're motivated to learn a certain skill set, right, it drives us. It drives us to want to achieve more. It drives us to want to accomplish more and to achieve more. So when we put the time and effort into something that we want to achieve or something that we want to do, we become masters at our own craft. So let's talk about mastery. So there's nothing like the satisfaction of knowing you're doing something well, that you've worked and practiced hard to achieve your own standards of excellence. That's what mastery is, the drive to improve our skills or knowledge in areas we're passionate about. So mastery is a motivating factor because it gives us a sense of progress. At least if we can stick it out through the beginning phases of learning something brand new, when we're bound to be frustrated from time to time. So that's why I talked about when we're trying to learn something new, when we're trying to practice something, when we're trying to gain knowledge on something that's new and foreign to us, it's important for us to, break it down into sections. Break it down into sections to where we're able to do little by little by little by little. We keep pushing through in areas because we want to learn something new every day. We want to arrive at a point where we do only what we want to do without being sidetracked or stunted by busy work or purposeless tasks. We want a sense of accomplishment that we can draw upon daily, right? So this deals with purpose as well, having a sense of purpose. When it comes to purpose, we believe that what we're doing has a positive effect on more than just our personal lives. It's also contributing to the general goodwill of the planet, helping somebody other than ourselves, or restoring a sense of higher meaning in our lives. So you ever notice that if let's say you are helping a homeless person, you're helping somebody, you're tutoring somebody, you're helping somebody when it comes to, a certain task or a certain subject. You're a tutor and you're helping somebody gain a knowledge on a certain subject, right? And the person appreciates you and the person thanks you for helping them in a certain way, whatever it is. And that makes you feel good. That makes you feel good in a certain way. That just shows that we're all connected. That just shows that whenever you're helping somebody, it affects you in a metaphysical way, right? Not only does it affect you in a physical way, right? It releases endorphins and creates different neural networks within the brain, and it makes you feel good on a physiological level, but on a metaphysical level, it makes you, feel like you've done something for the greater good for a person, or it makes you feel, good for the greater good. It makes you feel like you've done something for the greater good of humanity. If you're a public speaker, you're speaking to maybe, hundreds, few hundred people, 1,000 people. You're doing something good for humanity. You're doing something good for the planet. You're doing something good for the entire evolution of the universe, right? So, all this deals with mastery, purpose, things of this nature. We want to believe that we offer something important to the world, that our efforts are making others' existences more valuable, satisfied, or simply happy. We also want to believe we're worthy members of the human race as well. So all these deal with, having a sense of motivation, having a sense of intrinsic motivation, right? This deals with intrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation is more powerful than extrinsic motivation. So step 6, commit to monotasking. So most of us, we are in the habit of multitasking, right? If we're a parent, if we're a mother, if we're a father, if we have to do certain tasks like taking care of the children, feeding the children, helping with the children's homework. We have outside of our children's lives, we have our own lives. We have, a certain job that we need to fulfill. We have a certain job that we need to go to, right? Then we have all these other tasks within our own house, trying to make time for ourselves, trying to make time for our own physical, emotional, mental well-being. So we have all these different tasks. We have all these different priorities and responsibilities that we have to accompany, that we have to keep in mind of. So it's always best for us to stick to monotasking, right? We believe that we are able to achieve certain things when we're doing when we're doing some certain type of multitasking, but it keeps our brain in certain directions, keeps our brains fixated on different things at once, and that's not good for the psyche. That's not good for the psychological. So that's why we need to stick to monotasking. We need to stick to one thing at a time. Focus on one thing at a time, right? We need to, focus on, one specific task. We need to focus on one specific goal. We need to focus on one specific thing. Like I said in the beginning, when we're, trying to create a website, or if we're trying to present a presentation, come up with a presentation, break it down into certain sections, right? We're able to focus on this section, then this section, then this section, and then put it all together, pile it up together into one, okay? So, according to educator Susan Kruger, right, these are the 3 blocks on the course to success in their personal and practical ventures, right? So number 1 is confidence. Number 2 is self-management. And number 3 is learning, right? When we receive information of any kind, it travels up the spinal cord toward the neural networks of the brain. The first part of the brain to get this information is the emotional center before the analytical or interpretive parts. So let's say, like I said in the beginning, when we're tutoring somebody, if we're babysitting, right? If we're babysitting a certain, a friend's child or something, and then we know that we've helped that person, we know that we've done a good deed, or we know that we've done something good for that person or for humanity. It makes us feel good in a certain way, right? It goes up the information that we receive from that interaction or from that deed that we accomplished, goes up the spinal column and creates different neural networks in the brain, and travels up the emotional center within our brain, right? Because we are naturally emotional creatures. We are emotional creatures at heart, unless your soul is. But we are more emotional creatures at heart. So just like with our flight or fight response, that goes into it as well. When we receive information that we perceive to be, danger to ourselves, we go into flight or flight response. Right? If we, this could be in the form of constructive criticism, or when we walk into the street or something like that. Hopefully you don't do that. And you see an incoming car coming, or like a bear or animal attack or something like that. We go into flight or fight response. Right? It's the same thing. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between what is real danger and what is fictional danger, right? So when we receive information of any kind, it travels up the spinal cord to the neural networks of the brain. The first part of the brain to get this information is the emotional center. So self-management, we're dealing with self-management. Self-management is organizing one's time, resources, tools, and communication to ensure effective learning. And once again, this process is dictated by how our brain handles incoming information, right? So it's always important for us to, stick to monotasking, like I said. Always stick to monotasking instead of multitasking. Have some sort of self-management. Always, preparing yourself, develop and follow a pre-flow routine. Always organize yourself and prepare yourself for any task that you were trying to do within a flow state. After our emotional centers are done processing new info, the next brain part to receive the data is the front brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. This is a bit like our own personal assistant. It handles motor function, memory, language, problem solving, impulse regulation, social behavior, and a bunch of other cognitive skills. When the front brain is exhausted or depleted, we experience a weariness that prevents us from getting anything done. So this deals with the prefrontal cortex, deals with like memory, language, problem solving, impulse regulation. So when we practice something, we're practicing, something within a sport, or if we're in beauty school and we, learn the necessary things to do hair, do one's hair, these sorts of things. Once we start, implementing these practices and gaining more knowledge and wisdom on these certain subjects, it almost becomes second nature. Just like when you were learning how to drive, right? At the beginning, we had to think about everything. We weren't in a flow state when it comes to learn how to drive because we had to think about everything from the stick shift to the steering wheel, adjusting our mirrors, all these different things. We had to think about every single thing. But now, since you gain years of experience with driving, it's almost second nature. It's like that. It's like muscle memory. You don't have to think about anything. It just flows at ease. You're able to do it without even thinking about it. That's when it comes to, achieving a flow state, right? Having the knowledge and the wisdom to acquire certain skills and assets and then putting them into practice, right? It just becomes second nature, right? So that's why they always say, hard work always beats skill, or hard work always beats talent, right? You can have the talent, but you can also not have the work ethic or not have the drive to perfect your craft, to perfect your work in any way, right? So the best way to combat this brain drain is by working on self-management skills, particularly organization. This simply means taking a lot of time ahead of any task to set up systems, routines, and actions that will make the task easier to execute on an ongoing basis. Preparation is often the critical difference between success and failure, so it's vital not to rush through it, right? So like I said, developing and follow a pre-flow routine, commit to monotasking, preparing ourselves for the day ahead, preparing ourselves and organizing ourselves for certain types of work that we're trying to accomplish, that we're trying to complete, or what we're trying to do. All right, I think that's pretty much it. So stick to monotasking instead of multitasking. And last but not least, step number 7, create a feedback loop, right? So when we're doing something, when we're trying to accomplish something, we're trying to achieve something, whatever the case may be, whatever our motivation is, whatever our intrinsic motivation is, whatever our mission is in life, we need to have some sort of feedback loop, right? This can be, acquiring a certain skill set. When we're trying to acquire a certain skill set and we notice that we're becoming better at something, right? Say, for instance, you implement this exercise. So let's say that you are having a certain problem in your life, right? If you are not having problems in your life, then that's good for you. But I believe that most people in this world, including me, we all have a certain type of problem or problems that arise in our life. So this is a good brainstorming activity. So get out a pen or a piece of paper, or put it down your phone. As the heading, write down a certain problem that you are encountering. It may be some type of addiction that you are going through. It might be some type of emotional thing. You might have a certain problem with your spouse, or you might have poor time management skills, or anything along those lines, any type of problem that you are trying to fix. So have that as the heading, and then write down certain things on what you can do to improve that specific problem that you have, right? Some of these things may be impractical, but that's not the point. The point is to, develop your brainstorming muscles within your mind, right? This deals with, thinking outside the box, becoming more creative in what you are doing. So think about some certain things that you can do in order to eliminate this addiction or to eliminate this problem in your life, right? And this can venture out into many different aspects. When you're trying to come up with something that you are passionate about, or trying to figure out what your motivation is or what your mission is, try to jot down and write down some things that you are good at. Try to jot down some things that you are interested in these sorts of different things. So this is a great exercise, and this is a great activity for you to come up and develop your brainstorming muscles, right? And this could be, some sort of numerical feedback loop, right? If you are trying to achieve a certain amount of income, right? If you're trying to, set the bar to how much money you make per month. Let's say if you want to start making 10K a month within your own business that you created, right? You can, log this on an Excel spreadsheet, or you can just write it down. Write down how much you are making each month, right? You may start out at 5K a month, right? And then as you start to develop yourself, as you start to learn more about finances and how to come up with a creative business and developing clients and developing a certain product that you want to facilitate out into the world to help your clients and these things and these different things. And then you start, noticing your sheet, you start noticing the progress that you are making. Now you start making 10K a month. And then you might super exceed your expectations. You start making 15K a month, 20K a month. This is numerical. This is a numerical feedback loop. This deals with numbers, right? This could be, dealing with numbers in accordance to the feedback loop, or it could be, something, visible, something that you've noticed. If you're working out and you might see your body's more toned, right? This is a sign that your workout routine and your diet routine is working. Things of this nature. So why the feedback loop is so important? It gives our subconscious mind proof that we are improving on something, right? If we are, let's say we give ourselves affirmations and we tell ourselves that we are happy, that we are content in life, that we are satisfied, but deep down inside we know this is not the case, then our subconscious is not going to fully take in this information. Our subconscious is not utilizing this as confirmation, because deep down we know that we are going through certain problems in our lives. So once we create this feedback loop, and once we actually see numerical proof, or we actually see progress within our own lives when it comes to our mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional bodies, when we actually see this proof, it sends that proof to the subconscious mind, and it convinces our subconscious mind that we are happy, that we are content, that we are, whatever it is in life that we're trying to achieve, right? So that's why we always need that feedback loop. We need that proof. It's the magic of believing, the magic and the art of believing. It's all about the feeling. It's all about the feeling motive, the feeling drive to, want to do something. When we're seeing progress, when we're seeing a positive feedback loop, it motivates us to work on this certain thing more and more and more and more, and to prove ourselves every single day, being in the gym and being in the lab with our life. Right, so these are the 7 steps on achieving a flow state. Now I'm about to go over 7 signs you have achieved this flow state of mind. Right? So the first sign, our actions require minimal thought. So when we're doing something, when we're totally immersed, when it starts to become muscle memory, when we're doing something when it comes to muscle memory, it requires minimal thought. Like, for example, me, when I'm making this YouTube video, certain times, I don't even need notes. I don't even need to read over things. I don't need to, prep myself in order to make these certain YouTube videos. It's just effortless. It's just muscle memory, because I've been doing it for 2 years now. I've been making YouTube videos for 2 years now. So it starts to become muscle memory. Now there are times where I have to prepare myself. I'm not perfect. I'm not, some robot. I'm able to absorb information, at face value. So there are times where I have to prepare myself. I have to prep myself. I have to, go over my notes, like with these books that I presented in this video. There's certain things that I have to do, certain rituals that I have to perform in order to prepare myself to make a certain YouTube video. But most of the time, it's just muscle memory, and I just have the confidence. That's why it's important for us to have this certain confidence that we're able to talk about certain things, perform certain things, perform certain tasks, and so on and so forth. Like with Kobe Bryant, I'll use Kobe Bryant for example. all the time, the 3 a.m. workouts, him going to practice, all these things, the repetitive nature, the repetitive drills, the shooting drills, the fadeaway drills, the layup drills that he does. He's been implementing it and practicing all this into his daily routine, into his workout routine, to where it just becomes muscle memory when he goes out into the court. That's why he was so detailed and he was so, fixated on certain things and certain drills and certain maneuvers, certain moves, to where it just becomes muscle memory. He's able to act on this in a game, right? This deals with the Mamba mentality, having a certain Mamba mentality throughout life. So our actions require minimal thought. Second sign, we feel in total control. We feel in total control and totally immersed in what we're doing. We have control over our thoughts. We have control over our actions. We eliminate the outside world for a temporary amount of time. We have no sense of time. We don't, constantly look at the clock. We don't constantly look at our watch. We don't constantly, worry about what time it is when we're at our job, when we're at a boring job, and we're wondering, when lunch is, when the lunch hour is, or when is it time to go home. We have no sense of time. We have no sense of, things that are happening around us. We're just totally immersed in what we're doing. We have complete autonomy and control over our life. So there needs to be a balance between, at the same time, there needs to be a balance between having a certain type of awareness and being in a flow state of mind. But you may be asking, how can you have awareness but have no awareness at the same time? So let's say, for instance, you're taking a walk around your neighborhood, right? You may be paying attention to, having a certain type of awareness to where you are walking down the street. You may see a car pass by. You may notice the model or the make of the car. Or if you're walking and there's a lot of trees around, you may notice the certain colors of the leaves, or, certain colors of the grass and things of this nature, right? You may be walking past by someone and you might be aware of what type of hat they have on, what type of clothes they have on, right? You have a certain type of awareness, but at the same time, you're able to immerse in what you're doing. You're able to, focus on your walk, focus on how you are walking, how you are, how the type of strides that you are making, how your arms are swinging, how your legs are maneuvering while you're walking. So there is a such thing as having some type of awareness as well as being immersed in what you're doing. Now, there are some studies that have been done on this. There aren't that many as in the right time or in the present moment, but there is a way that you can have balance between having awareness, having some type of awareness, while also being in the flow of what you are doing in the present moment, right? Because it can be addicting to where you are just focused on what you're doing and you're not paying attention to, a person may be trying to talk to you, or a person may be, trying to communicate to you, or, you might be unaware that the house is on fire, or your kids are crying and they may need help on certain things. There are times where we become so addicted to being in a flow state to where we're completely unaware of our total surroundings, right? To where it can be detrimental to us. So that's why I said there needs to be a balance between the two. Third sign, we experience joy while doing the activity, right? We become, happy and joyful in what we're doing. When we're doing something that we love and that we're passionate about, right? Like I said in the beginning, it sends dopamine receptors within the brain. It creates new neural networks in the brain. Just like when we're reading something, just like if we learn something new, it makes us happy. It makes us happy that we learned a new skill set, right? So when we're in a flow state, we experience joy while doing the activity. Fourth sign, our awareness narrows, right? Our awareness narrows. Our outside world narrows. We're not filled with distractions. We're not, lingering in our own thoughts. We're not putting so much energy into our own thoughts, whether it be positive or negative, right? We're completely immersed in what we're doing and no distractions internally or externally is able to intervene with that flow state. Fifth sign, we act with zero self-consciousness. Like I said, with confidence, having a certain type of confidence in doing whatever we're doing, right? That's the key to achieving a flow state, is having some sort of confidence. When we're always self-conscious about ourselves, when we're always questioning ourselves, wondering if we're going to say the right thing to that girl, or if we're always overthinking about certain things, when we're just self-conscious about ourselves, when we have a negative self-image about ourselves, that completely throws off the whole entire flow state. So that's why it's important for us to have a certain type of confidence in what we do and what we say and the performances that we take and that we inherit. Sixth sign, time awareness evaporates, right? We have no sense of time, right? Time is an illusion. We realize that time is an illusion. Time doesn't exist. Only time exists in this third dimensional realm to keep track of, our daily activities and, help us plan according to the day. But in actuality, time doesn't exist. Time only exists in this third dimension. So time evaporates. There's no such thing as time, and we just completely immerse in what we're doing. Just like me, sometimes I realize, when I'm recording these videos, and once I'm done recording these videos, because I'm just talking, I'm just spitting everything that comes to my mind. And when I look back on, the amount of time that I was speaking, sometimes I would say to myself, man, I spoke for 30, 40 minutes. I don't even, outside of YouTube, I don't even talk for this long. Outside of YouTube, I'm very quiet. I don't even talk that much. But I become so immersed in, these teachings and these lectures that I'm doing, that I just completely lose sense of time. And I just, sometimes it amazes me that I even talk for this long, because outside of this, I don't even talk for this long. I hardly even talk at all. But when we're doing something that we're passionate about, we lose all sense of time. Seventh and final sign, total clarity about what we're doing, right? We have, some sort of, clarity on what we're doing. We have a reason and why we want to achieve a flow state. We have a reason on why we want to complete a certain mission in our lives. We want to complete certain goals and tasks in our lives. We have a reason and we have a clarity of mind on why we're doing certain things in our lives. That's why it's important for us to have clarity and to have some sort of understanding on why we are doing such things in our lives, to where we're not dreading the day and we're just doing something just to pay bills, or doing something to just get by in life, right? Having a higher sense of purpose, having a higher sense of fulfillment in our lives. All right, guys, so this is how to achieve a flow state plus 7 signs you have achieved one. I know this was a lengthy video, but hopefully you have, gathered some information, dissected this video, taken the information from this video, certain parts of the video that resonate with you, and just move on from there, right? So hopefully you were able to understand more on how to achieve a flow state. I also have a video on how to maintain a flow state, right? It's important for us to achieve a flow state, but at the same time, we need to develop to where we're able to maintain this flow state. So I'll leave that link down in the description if you guys want to check that out. But hopefully you've learned something from this video. Hopefully you learn more about what a flow state is and how to achieve a flow state, to where you're able to progress in life and to fulfill and do the things that you actually want to do in life. So take this video, take this information in, and hopefully you've written some notes down or anything like that. And yeah, many blessings to you all. So till next time, and always remember, all power resides from within, and always keep the faith, because God and the universe is always working for you. Take care, guys, and God bless.